Hi everyone, it's Mandy, the Cake Diva. Hello. I am going to show you today how I'm going to make a basic pink bow. It's going to go on a Minnie Mouse cake. My hands are already dyed pink, as you can see. I've dyed basic white fondant for things such as bows or accessories on cakes where I'm fairly certain they're not going to be consumed. I'm okay with using this Wilton Decorator Preferred Fondant, which you can buy at pretty much any store. Not expensive. It doesn't taste bad. It does have a gummy texture, not my favorite thing in the world, but it serves its purpose and it works really well. I actually, whenever I color my fondants, I go about a drop at a time. I dunk the tip of a butter knife into my gel container, which I'm using basic Wilton gel coloring in standard pink for this particular mini cake because it's a pretty easy color and it's very common and it works for most everything. I did roll it in some powdered sugar just to get it to where it wouldn't stick to my hands so badly. What you want to do is roll it, get it to a point where there aren't very many creases and such, into like a little log, such as this. I use just a plain white roller and I roll it out until it is about maybe 1/8 of an inch thickness or so. Will look kind of like this, your finished product. I like to taper the ends out a little bit. Minnie Mouse's head, I'm going to use this particular cutter. I have a cutter set over here that this is actually the largest circle, so this is going to be Minnie's head. I can kind of set this here to gauge the size of the bow. The ears will be this size for Minnie. I'll make 2 of these, and this bow will sit right in between the ears. So I kind of keep this here for reference. I've also cut a couple of pieces of cling wrap, just basic Glad saran wrap. I've took a piece that's standard width, about 6 inches across. I folded it in half and rolled it. Set those aside. I'm going to need those later on. I do kind of smush up the center. I cut out a tiny bit like this, a tiny bit of a curve to give the center of the bow. Then I try to make sure that that's centered in the fondant. It feels a little bit thick right through here to me. Make sure your ends are good and tapered. Then when you go to fold your bow, you just fold it under. I stick my finger in this hole and then slide in a piece of the saran wrap to the hole so that the bow can hold its shape. Place it back down on the board. Do the same exact thing on the other side. It's very simple. Fondant is a lot like playing with Play-Doh. It's very simple to work with and easy. It looks deceivingly hard, but it's really pleasant and simple to work with. And I have a lot of practice with Play-Doh since I run a daycare. I like to kind of pinch the edges up a tiny bit just to give it a little bit of a textured look. Make the edges look like an actual bow a little bit more. You squeeze the center. Then I take an extra piece, about yay big, and I set it out on the tray. This still here looks a little bit thick to me. And I roll it. And then what I like to do is take one of these edger cutters. They have different attachments. This one here has like a, I don't know if you can tell, but it looks like a seam. They also have an attachment that looks wavy on the edge. Hopefully you guys can see this. I don't know how clear my camera is. I like to just edge it out so that it actually looks like a seam on the edge of fabric to go on the edges of the bow. I do that on each side. I'm right-handed. I probably should have set my camera on the opposite side. There we go. That's what it will look like. And then before I place that around the center of the bow, I'd like to add a couple of little seams in the bow. This is just the flat spinner on that particular tool. I just make 2 little seams on the bow, like such. Then you can simply take this piece. I've made it too wide. And that's an easy fix. I've made it wider than what I would like. I'm going to cut it down and put in a new seam. This extra doesn't really matter. That's on the top and the bottom of that strip here and here. Doesn't matter because it's going to tuck back in behind the bow. It'll give it a little bit of height and definition, make it look like a real bow. Let's see. And this edge is a little bit thicker than I would like. There. Any excess that I have, I usually set it aside. I'm going to use the excess to make the polka dots to go on the cake later on. Generally when I make fondant figures, I like to let them dry for at least 24 hours good, maybe 48, depending upon how thick of a fondant I'm using. And you just wrap it right around, tuck it behind, and then you can kind of readjust your edges and readjust your saran to get the shape that you'd like. I like for the edges of my bows to kind of point up a bit. I think that Minnie's bow actually goes up a bit on the edges. There we go. Just as I had imagined. That is the bow that's going to go on my Minnie Mouse cake. And it looks kind of big, but I think it's going to be just right. Picture that as Minnie's head. The bow will sit right there. The ears will come out from behind on each side. I appreciate you guys watching my video. I know it's not, I don't have any fancy video equipment. I'm using my cell phone. But I thought any of you who are trying to make basic cakes, and a lot of basic cakes have bows such as Minnie and Hello Kitty. They all have pink bows and such. So they're kind of fun to make, and they do definitely need to dry. If you put it on your cake before it's all the way dry, it's going to wilt. Don't pull the saran wrap out before it's all the way dry either, because your bow will collapse in the center, but it'll get nice and hard. It'll firm up. It will still be edible, and it will be great. So there's your video of the day. Thank you.